Hey, welcome to Legals and Biz with Riz, the podcast offering you business and legal tips without the boring legalese. I'm your host, Riz McDonald, and I'm here to answer your questions and offer general advice in the clearest way possible. So grab your beverage of choice, sit back, and get ready to build your empire with Find Legal. Hello everyone, welcome to Legals and Biz with Riz. My name is Riz McDonald, and in today's episode 16, we're going to be talking about intellectual property. So, let's get some facts straight about intellectual property and what it means to you. So, firstly, what is intellectual property, also referred to as IP? It's something that you can't touch as such. IP Australia says that it's the property of your mind or proprietary knowledge. So, IP rights are the rights you have for property that has come from your mind. Whoa, psychedelic, right? Well, let's take a graphic designer print as an example to play with. If a graphic designer sells a print, their customer owns that print, the physical product that they can touch and hold. The IP in that print is the actual creation, i.e. the unique combination of colors, patterns, and words that the graphic designer used their mind to create. When the customer, in this situation, buys the print, they aren't buying the IP because the graphic designer who created it is still the owner of that IP. Make sense? Next point. Who owns IP? Now, as with our graphic designer, generally the IP is owned by the person who created it with their mind, unless there's a contract or law which changes this. If there is a contract or law in place, then whoever the contract or law says owns the IP is the owner. Being an owner of IP gives that person the right to use the IP how and when they see fit. For example, the graphic designer, if they decided that they would like to use their IP to make prints that they can sell, but some businesses may choose the way to use their IP is by assigning or licensing it to another person for them to use. What does it mean to license IP? Well, smooth transition and insert a bow for the inevitable applause here. In a nutshell, a license is a bit like a permission slip. Except instead of mum telling the school you're allowed to go to camp, it's the IP owner telling someone else, the licensee, that they're allowed to use the IP for a certain reason or purpose. And the IP owner in this scenario is the licensor. Generally, licenses are limited by the purpose, which is what the licensee is being allowed to do with the IP, time, meaning when the licensee is allowed to use the IP for that purpose, including when they can start and when they have to stop. Territory, which is where the licensee is allowed to use the IP for that purpose. Make sense? Now, if we go back to our trusty graphic designer example, they may choose to license the IP. Remember, not the physical print, just the unique combination of colors, patterns, etc. to print onto t-shirts, which they are allowed to sell for, say, 1 year in Australia. The licensee might then decide that they now would also like to print jumpers with the same IP. This isn't covered by the license and therefore it's not allowed. So they would have to go back to the graphic designer and get another license, maybe even pay an additional fee, at least I hope so, to be able to do so. Now, what does it mean to assign IP? Well, when you assign IP to another person, you assign to them certain rights to do with that IP. What the rights are that are being assigned can be entirely decided by the parties. This could be the entire ownership of the IP, except for the moral rights. Don't worry, we'll get to that later. Or you could even assign ownership and maintain the right to use it yourself for certain things. Just like with licensing, the parties set out what will occur depending on what they decide they want the arrangement to look like between them. Now, if you want to know more about assigning IP, take a look at our blog article, How to Transfer Ownership of My Trademark to Another Business, and I'll put the link in the show notes for you. Now, something else to think about. Can you keep your rights as an owner if you license or assign your IP? Short answer, absolutely. You're allowed to license or assign your IP however you wish. Just make sure that the contract you're using to do this is super clear. It needs to explain exactly what it is you are retaining and how you want to be able to use those retained rights in the future. Now, remember we mentioned briefly moral rights? Well, let me explain to you what they are. Moral rights are rights that can't be assigned, and that will always belong with the owner. It's basically the right to be credited for the work created. Even where an IP owner or creator sells all of their rights in relation to their work, this moral right to be credited still remains and can't be assigned to the person buying it. However, you can, in a contract, say that the owner/creator won't make the purchaser credit them or won't enforce those moral rights against the purchaser. But think hard about why you want to give away that right. Now, what should you do if someone is using your IP without your permission? Well, this is where it gets tricky, and we do recommend you get personalized legal advice that covers every aspect of the situation. Generally, though, it's a good idea to ask nicely for them to remove the IP which has been used without your permission. Sometimes people won't have realized what they're doing or didn't realize they needed to get permission. So once they understand, they're generally willing to remove it. When they don't, this is where legal advice is really handy to come in and have a look about what to do. But always remember, lead with a cool, calm head. Don't get angry and post comments you can't take back. Instead, take screenshots, gather evidence, and approach privately. Now, I have some exciting news as well. We are about to launch our new course, Tricks of the Trademark, and I am so excited about that. We have a masterclass absolutely free that will be live on the 18th of November at 12:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. The link is in my Instagram bio at FoundLegal. I'll put all the links in the show notes as well. Please do come along because I'm going to talk to you about the importance of a trademark, why you need one, how a trademark can convey so much emotion about who you are, how it's a valuable marketing tool, and it can be an asset that appreciates over time, and so much more. So if you are ready to take your business and brand to the next level, come along to this masterclass, and at the end of it, I will be opening the doors to my course, Tricks of the Trademark, and I'd love to hear what you think of my name as well. Thank you so much for your time. Can't wait to talk to you next time. Take care. Well, that's it for this episode of Legals and Biz with Riz. As always, thanks for listening. If you like this episode, raise a glass and show us some love by subscribing. And if you're feeling extra jazzed, we'd love a little review. If there are any topics you'd like to hear about, shoot us a message and we'll get on it. Till next time, this is Riz of FoundLegal signing off.